Hey guys, this is Fish Tank Galore here with another video. This time I'm going to cover the basics of what you're going to need to start your own tank. So there's a lot of places we could start. I guess we'll start with the tank itself. You're going to want to get a 20 or 10 gallon tank if you're a beginner, or if you're looking for something really big you're going to put in your living room. You have 60 gallon, 12 inch across, 12 inch deep, or 12 inch deep and 48 inch across, and then I think 4 feet tall display tanks, which are really tall and really thin. They don't have a lot of depth to them. Those are really good for displays, but they're not the best when it comes to taking care of your fish, because what will happen is that your fish will want to take territory based off of the amount of ground there is, not based off of the height. There's no height territory for fish. So if you want to have a healthier fish tank, you want to get a 55 or 75 gallon. I think it is 24 by 48 by 24. Those would be the dimensions. So it's about 2 feet deep instead of 1 foot deep, 2 feet tall, and 4 feet wide. It'd be a 55 gallon, I think. That's typically the best thing for a larger tank. And then the 20 gallons are typically going to be 12 inches deep, 12 inches tall, and like this one would be I think 24 or 36 inches across. So one thing you're going to need is a bubbler system, and you're also going to need an air stone. And what the bubbler and air stone do is that they cause the bubbles in the tank, and that regenerates the oxygen levels in the water, and that allows the fish to breathe. Now you can put plants like I have in here, live plants, not fake plants. The live plants will inhale carbon dioxide and expel oxygen, but unless you have a ton of plants, you're really going to need an air stone to supplement the oxygen growth. So that would be the first thing. The next thing is you're going to need a one of these lights. Now you can get incandescent, they're a lot more inexpensive. You're going to have to make sure that the light fits the width of the fish tank, because the worst thing you can do is get a light that doesn't fit. Now you're going to want it to go across, so you don't want to get a 12 deep one this way, you want to get the correct length this direction. Now incandescent is good. LEDs are better because they're much brighter, they can penetrate the water much better, and typically LEDs will come with a blue light setting, and the blue light setting will be able to, you can turn off the white lights. I'm going to do here, the blue lights, and what that'll do is that'll simulate night for your fish, or dusk. So that's something you need to get. Most incandescents come with red, and what red will do is red will extremely accelerate your brown algae growth, and that'll suffocate your tank, so you don't want to have that happen. One of the other things you're going to need, which is extremely important, if you don't have this, you're really not doing good. You really need to have a filter system. Now the filter system needs to be able to handle the specific size tank you have. So if you have a 10 gallon tank, you can get one of those littler filters. But if you have 20 gallon, 30 gallon, 55, you're going to want to get what I like to call double waterfall and single pump, which, as you can see, there are two sides where the water comes out. There's two big filters, and then there's the single draw pump in the middle. And what that'll do is it'll filter out just the crud that gets circulated in the water when the fish poop, and it doesn't go to the bottom, it'll get sucked up. If there's stray leaves along the top, that'll get sucked up. It'll suck up. It basically just cleans the water out, and you're really going to need that, because if you don't have that, the fish are not going to be able to live in the fish tank. Another thing you're going to need is you're going to need some substrate or gravel. You really don't want to get dirt, because dirt has, like, you can't go outside and just grab sand and dirt from your yard, because it's just covered in parasites and bacteria and all kinds of crud that you really don't want to get in your fish tank. So you're going to want to get an appropriate amount of gravel. It comes in all kinds of colors and sizes. Some fish prefer larger gravel, like cichlids prefer larger stones, and community fish like tetras and these barbs, they prefer the smaller rocks. Another good thing about the smaller rocks is that you can have these plants live in them. The plants will actually grow roots into the rocks and attach to the rocks, so they won't be able to get uprooted. So that's a good thing about having those rocks. The best gravel that I can find that goes really well with the plants is just straight black, like jet black gravel. It really brings out the green in the plants. You're also going to need a heater, which is over here in the corner. Just like the filter, you're going to have to get a heater that can stand, or that is rated for that size tank. If you get a really little heater that doesn't have a lot of power, then most of the tank will not be the correct temperature and the fish will not be able to live. Especially fish like these neon tetras and the angelfish. If it gets too cold, they have none of that. They're just going to die off, or they're going to try and jump out of the tank, and we don't want that. Alright, so moving on to other things that you buy that you're going to put in the tank. You're going to need pH regulator. Since these are freshwater fish, most of them like acidic from 6.0 to just flat 7. Flat 7 would be just straight water. 6.0 would be slightly acidic. A lot of fish like the cichlids and the angelfish like acidic water. You're going to also have to test for a bunch of other things like phosphate, nitrites, nitrates, and ammonia. You're going to want to get some of these strips. What you'll do is you'll take the strip and you'll dip it in the water, and you'll pull it back out, and it'll have one of these color coding things that'll just show you the amount of each different chemical in the fish tank. You'll need to maintain that, otherwise the fish will die. Fish are extremely delicate. If you have a spike in nitrites, then you'll have a really hard time keeping those fish alive. For the correct nutrients for the fish and plants to survive properly, you're going to want to get some prime. It goes by a bunch of other names. What it basically is when you put new water into the fish tank, you're going to want to add this to it, because it'll add nutrients and specific chemicals that the fish and plants need to live, and it'll keep the algae growing at a correct rate. It'll keep the, like I said, the phosphates, nitrites, and that stuff down, or at the correct level that it's needed. And this comes in a bunch of different kinds of, not flavors, but it comes in a bunch of different brands. This is Prime. I don't, off the top of my head, know the rest of them, but you're going to need something like this. You're going to need some fish flakes or some marine pellets. Now, fish flakes are for the community fish that are smaller, and they're also for they are for smaller fish, because the pellets are harder to swallow for the smaller fish. But fish pellets, or fish flakes, are basically the all-around thing that you can use. Almost every single fish that I know of will eat fish flakes. Marine pellets are more specialized for specific fish. I use this brand, Instant Ocean. They are meant for saltwater fish, but I find that the freshwater fish like them just as much. Now, those are for your bigger fish like cichlids, really big cichlids, Oscars, tang, and angelfish when they get bigger. Bullheads, those are the kinds. Boxfish. Some freshwater pufferfish also like this. Your arowana, arapaima, gars. I know a lot of barbs that'll eat it. I know that my rosy barbs will eat this, so you'll need that. Also, if you really want to get your fish really healthy, you can buy other foods that are specific to fish, like stuff that's found naturally, like brine shrimp, that's normally for saltwater, or bloodworms. Bloodworms are the little red worms that can be used for saltwater or freshwater, so those are important. Now, some things that aren't really required for the tank that will make your fish feel a lot more at home are, first off, I'm going to start with the rocks. Now, rocks are really important because they give fish like the neon tetras and the angelfish a sense of security, because you're going to be coming around the tank all the time, especially when you do stuff like this, as you saw right there. They get scared, and if they don't usually use the rocks to hide, but if they just have them there, it makes them feel a lot more safe in the tank. And I found that if a fish feels a lot safer, it'll start to have more bright colors. Because what will happen is if a fish feels threatened, it'll start to pale its colors, so it feels like it's not being seen as much anymore. So it'll be rocks. Wood would be another thing. Now, the reason wood's really good is A, because it's natural, and B, because wood is a natural water softener. It takes hard metals and salt out of the water. And a lot of fish, mostly tetras and barbs, really like a lot of soft water. So that'd be a really nice thing to have in your tank. It's not required, but I would recommend it highly. You can find it just about anywhere. get it for sale or find it in your stream. The last thing that I would really highly recommend would be live plants, not fake plants. They just give it a way more natural feel, and the fish like it a lot more. Also, they provide a supplement to oxygen as opposed to having a bubbler. You should still have a bubbler, but the plants will give you way more natural oxygen supply. Also, the plants will filter out the substrate or the gravel for you. When the fish poop starts to get really high up there and the nitrites start getting really high, the plants will take that out of the water for you and you won't have to clean the tank as much. So I would really recommend getting plants. Also, they just make the fish feel more secure. A lot of fish will try and sleep in grasses and taller plants such as that bamboo because it just makes them feel safer. Some fish that I would start, well, let's start with this. When you first set up your tank, you're going to want to run the filter in it for about a week just to make sure that the water's all clean. Do not put fish in it until the filter has run for a week. You don't want your fish to die. If you put your fish in prematurely, you might not have all of the chemicals filtered out yet, and the fish might not make it. Other basic things that aren't really required, but I would recommend because it'll make the tank experience a lot nicer as far as maintenance goes, is you'll probably want to get, I don't know if he's still there, if you can see him, some ghost shrimp. He's right there on that rock. There's a, so yeah, ghost shrimp would be pretty good. One of the last things I would recommend to almost everyone, well, there's two more things. I'll start with this. I don't know if he's in there anymore. I don't know if I can find him. But anyway, can't see him right now, but I would recommend getting a Plecostomus or Pleco of any kind. Typically they run anywhere from $3, or you can get the more fancy ones for about $8 to $15. They keep the algae in check. They don't let the tank become overgrown with algae. So I would definitely recommend getting one of those. They're not really the most active fish. You probably won't see them very much, but they're extremely helpful for you. You'll notice the big difference if you get one. You can see more about Plecostomus in my earlier Plecostomus video if you want to look into that. It's on my channel. Also, the ghost shrimp, I did a video on my channel if you want to look into that. The last thing I would recommend getting is not in my tank right now, but everyone should start with it, is if you're going to start up a new tank, to make sure that the more expensive fish that you're going to buy live in that tank and that the chemicals are ready. Before you put your expensive fish in, you should get what are called bulletproof fish. They're called feeder fish in other places. The reason they're bulletproof is because they'll survive pretty much anything. And what you want to use them for is you put the feeder fish in after your tank is cycled for a week to make sure that the water is healthy enough for the fish to live in it. If your feeder fish, your bulletproof fish, don't make it, that probably means that the water isn't ready for your more expensive fish, and you don't want to waste your money getting fish that are just going to die if you put them in the water. Apart from that, I think I covered everything. So, this has been Fish Tanks Galore, telling you how to set up your very first freshwater fish tank. Please subscribe and leave comments in the comment area. And let me know if you think you know anything else that you would like to tell me, and I will put it in the next video for starting up a fish tank. Thank you.